Okay, let's go over. In order to understand today's daf, we have to go over what we saw 2 days ago. So here was the dialogue 2 days ago. We're learning Ilu Nishmas Eliezer ben Abraham. That's Rami Weinreb and Ari Weinreb's father. He was really Chazan Weinreb. He was a funny guy. He was a funny guy. So now, the Mishnah said that if you eat Trumas Meister Shel Demai, you're going to pay a chaimish. You know, if you eat Trumas Meister B'Shogeg, regular Trumas Meister, you're going to pay a chomesh. The chiddush of the Mishnah is, even though it's the Rabbanan, it's only a suffix whether Meister was taken off or not, you're going to eat a chomesh. Now, if you did it b'mezid, be aware, you be chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. If you eat truma, you're chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. That was our Mishnah. The Amoyer Rabbi Loza ben Pados had a problem with that. He said that the chomim are machmer so much that make you pay a chaimish. So Shmuel answered, well, the Mishnah is going according to Reb Meir. Reb Meir is of the opinion that if you bring a get and you don't refuse to say b'fanei nichtam, you don't refuse, but you don't say b'fanei nichtam, b'fanei nechtam, and the woman goes ahead upon that get, marries somebody else, she's still an Eishes Ish, and the child's going to be a mamzer. B'fanei nechtam is a din d'Rabbanan. So you see that the Chachamim are machmir. They're machmir. So the Tanarah Mishnah who's machmir by demai is, according to Shmuel, is Reb Meir who's machmir by get. And a get, of course, misa, if a person in Eishes Ish, you boil an Eishes Ish, that's misa b'dei adam. Rav Sheshes had a problem. Rav Sheshes is going to be a raya that Rabbi Meir is mekel. Where is the raya? Maisa Sheni of the Mai. You have Maisa Sheni of the Mai that usually you can't be paid the kesef to the chayshes, but you could. You can be paid the kesef to the chayshes. Right. So we see that what? Reb Meir is mekel midrabanan. So that's the kasha. Here he's being machmir, and here Reb Meir is being mekel. So we're questioning. Says the Gemara. Reb Yosef says Reb Meir is mekel by the pidyon that when you go ahead and in order to be paida, you can be paida kesef on the. You can go ahead, downgrade from silver coins to copper coins. That's the act of padiyah. But when it comes to the act of achila, he's being machmir. So Reb Meir is being consistent. He's being machmir. He's being mekel in this inyan of a pidyon. But when it comes to achila, he would be machmir that you had a chaimish. So that's the dialogue Gemara we've seen until now. We'll be getting back to this chart in a short while. We'll be getting back to this chart in a very short while. But that's the segue into today's daf. So we're up to Nun Vav Amid Aleph, Nun Vav Amid Aleph, Maser Ravina with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lines down, 11 lines down. Maser Ravina. Ravina is asking a question. Okay, you told me that Reb Meir is being machmir. I'm going to bring another source that Reb Meir is being mekel. Now, again, in the Mai itself, there's always a shaila to take Maisa off one to the other. Let's say you have two individuals. One Amma Aretz would go ahead and take off the Mai, would take off Meiser, and the other one not. If you were taking Meiser one off the other, could be you're taking Meiser on something that's Pater or Pater on Meiser. So that's the problem. The Rameh allows that. Halokeh min anachtum. If you purchase bread l'chayra from a nachtum, from a baker, Meiser min acham ala tzainenes, you can take Meiser from the hot fresh one on the cold stale one. I threw the word stale in the short, but you could take. In other words, whether one is good or one is bad is irrelevant, as we'll see in a second. And what we need is the next one. Even if the nachdom has a mold, and you're buying bread, and each bread looks differently. Why does it look differently? There's a svara to say that it came from different people. That's why it looks differently. It has a different form. So since it has a different form, it must have been bought from different people. Now, if it's different people, then how could you ever take off Maisa one from the other? Maybe this Amoritz took off the Mai and took off Maisa and it's Potter, and the other one didn't, and it's Chayiv, and you'd be taking from Maisa al Patur. Says Gemara, very good taking off cold on hot. So from inferior to superior, Kid Rebbe Loi. That would be in line with Rebbe Loi's din. Dam Rabbaloi, minayin l'toyer min hara ala yafa. How do you know if you go ahead and take off from raw, lousy, poor crop, ala yafa on a positive crop? It's a good crop. Shet truma say truma, that it's good truma. Shenemar leitisa love chait. You don't carry with yourself a chait. Barim chemes chelboy when you go ahead and separate its chelboy. It's fresh. Mimenu. Eno kodesh nesias chait lama. It's not chal the truma. Why is it what? Why is it called a chait? In other words, you shouldn't do it, but if you do it, it's chal. So that's what we see. So in other words, that first clause of kol tahat, that's not a problem. Our problem by the nachdom is that the fuss, when it's different molds, that's the problem, and that's going to be the question that Ravina poses, like the shita of Reb Meir. Now, mikan l'torim min hara yafa sh'truma say truma. Of course, it's called a chait. Now, ela afilim mitfusim harbe. You buy from a nachdom different forms. Leichesh, let's be concerned. From something that's chayiv to separate Maisa to something that already Maisa has been separated from, or minach patur ala chiyuv, or something that has been separated already and something that's not, which is not a good Maisa. And Reb Meir is allowing it. So you see Reb Meir, when it comes to the din d'Rabbanan of the Mai, is being makel. So and this is not speaking about achila; it's speaking about the actual separating. So we have the inconsistency over here. So at this point in time, we have a question. At this point in time, we have Rabbi Yosef saying that he's being machmir Reb Meir. Now we have Ravina. If I would add over here Ravina, which I didn't do it, Ravina, we're being makel. So what is it? In other words, we started off the Mishnah that it's a chumrah because you're going to pay chaimish on truma, which the ma'is the rabbanon. Said that's Rabbi Lez's problem. Said Shmuel, you know what? It goes according to Reb Meir, who's machmir by get. Says Reb Sheshes, kasha. This is a kasha. You see, Reb Meir is makel because he allows you to go ahead and separate what bipoida kesef from the chayshes. Says Rabbi Yosef, it's not a problem. Really is machmir, but then in Padiyah is being makel. Now we're bringing another situation where Reb Meir is being makel by allowing what? Taking off minad defus to another defus. Good. Now, the Gemara is going to go through the whole Shach of V'tarya. That's like, I have it up on the board. It should be helpful. Amar Abaya. This is a teretz, a long-winded teretz. Amar Abaya. Rebbe Lezer shapik kashalei. Rebbe Lezer asked very good. You're going to pay chaimish for eating the rabbanon. He asked good. Ushmuel loy shapik hameshanilei. But Shmuel's teretz, fellas, of the chumra de rabbanon is not a good teretz. Why? The kashalei Rebbe Lezer misid bidei shamayim umeshanilei Shmuel misid bidei adam. Look at the chart, fellas. Rebbe Lezer asked from misa at worst, if you eat b'mezid Trumas Maisa, not the Mai, Trumas Maisa, you be chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. That's why maybe they're makel, because it's only misa b'dei shemayim. Shmuel says that Shitas Reb Meir. Shmuel's going to get Vlad's a mamza. We're dealing with mamish chive karis, chive misas bezdin. Anesh shesish chive misas bezdin. So how can you tzushtel? Maybe Reb Meir is only machmir by misa b'dei adam, and he won't be machmir by misa b'dei shemayim. Correct? So says Abaya. Rebbe Lez's kasha is good, but Shmuel's teretz is not a good teretz. Because even though he's machmir by here, it's only because it could chas v'shalom lead to misa b'dei shemayim. Mashain came by misa b'dei adam, but misa b'dei shemayim not. So therefore, says Abaya, I don't like the teretz of Shmuel and Rebbe Lezer. Continues the Gemara. Mashain le Shmuel misa b'dei shemayim. Dil mashayni misa b'dei bezdin the chamiri. Now. Rav Sheshes leishapik ha'maisavla. Now, why was Rav Sheshes kasha? We see that he's being makel. How's he being makel? Because you can be poid the kesef on the chayshes. We're speaking about misa, and he's saying being makel by a lav. If you're not poid it correctly, so you over the lav leisuka lecha b'sharecha. You over a lav that you can't eat ma'aser sheni outside Yerushalayim, but you're not chayiv misa for eating based outside Yerushalayim. So he's telling what a lav to misa. It's interesting how Abaya is going through the whole Shach V'tarya beautifully. It says very, very not the norm Gemara, fellas. Now, so Rav Sheshes loy shapik ha'maisel. Why? The Ka'amri inu Shmuel says why, and Rebbe Lezer and Shmuel is speaking about misa. Who moisav Rav Sheshes lav, and Rav Sheshes is being moisav a lav that you weren't pointed correctly outside Yerushalayim. Dichsiv leisucha lecha b'sharecha. Good. Now, however, ulamai de moisav Rav Sheshes Rav Yosef Shapa Kamishani Lei. However, that Rav Sheshes did ask from the Lav, we like Rav Yosef's teretz. Rav Yosef's teretz that we're makel by pidyon and we're machmei achila, that would do the job. That would be an appropriate what? Appropriate teretz. So Abaye goes through the Shakavataria, and we're holding now by Ravina. Guys, any questions? You good? It's set up beautifully now. So I was Ravina's kasha. We see his mekel. The fact that you have different forms, it must be that what? They were bought from different people. So let's be chayish, you're taking off Raman, ala patur ala chiyuv. So El Ravina, adem moisef minachtem, if you bring a raya, a kasha from a nachtem, misayle mipalter. A palter is a wholesaler. Now he gets from a lot of people. Bring a raya from a palter. It nan haloichim min a palter. If someone goes ahead and buys bread from a palter, ma'isem in kol defus defus. Divrei meya. From each and every mold, he has to take what? He has to take off, even if they look the same, guys. Even if they look the same. So you see, Rabbi is machmir. So Ravina, you're asking a kasha from nachtum, you can make a raya from palter. Good. So therefore, he's asking a question, answering a question with a question. You want to ask a kasha from a palter that you're taking off one from the other by a nachtum, by a palter, even if the same form, he says you have to be chayish. So Rabbi is machmir. Palter mitrei tilsa garbis of him. The palter he does buy from 2 or 3 people. He's a wholesaler. He's not a local bakery. He's buying from all over. If he's buying from all over, of course, there may be chayish that you can't take from one form on another form because there's a possibility that you'll be taking off in a patur alachiyav or chiyav ala patur. Nachtem nami michad gabru d'zavim, but a nachtem, even if it's separate molds, he will buy from the same person, and therefore Rabbi is being makel. That's the difference. That's the difference between all of them. So Abaye went through the litany of the Shakavataria. The last kasha that was presented by Ravina, he did away with because, again, simply there's a difference between a palter and a nachtem. A nachtem, ein achinami, a local baker would buy from one person, and therefore you would not hire, you could take off mice, not a problem. Mashen came on. Because if it's potter, it's potter. If it's chayiv, it's chayiv. If it's one individual. Mashen came by the palter, he buys from multiple people. In that case, what will be machmir. So it comes out he is being machmir. One of the questions that Abaye presented, fellas, was Shmuel's kasha on Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar is asking from Trumas Meiser of the Mai that Trumas Meiser in its strictest form without the Mai would be Misa B'dei Shemayim. That was his kasha. Rav Amar Shmuel Shapik Hamashani Lei. He gave a good teretz by saying Rabbi Meir is the Tan of the Mishnah. Because why? Because Misa B'dei Shemayim, it's the same Misa Ba'alma. In other words, no matter how you're dying, whether it's God taking you or it's Bezn Shalmayla Amata taking you. Either way, it's Misa, and therefore what? It's a good teretz. It's a good teretz that Shmuel is giving Rabbi Lazar that the Mishnah is Rabbi Meir. So Baruch Hashem, I think we got the Shach B'Tarya down, and questions, comments. You good? I think it's good, right, guys? I think it's very clear. It's right in front of you. It's right there in front of you. It's great. Okay. Getting back to business again. We're in Maisa Sheni for a while. Now it's Chumas Maisa. Getting back to the sugya oivayna, which is our sugya. These are things that why, and we'll learn that from biblical sources. There is no din of ayna, meaning there is no din of a 6 that you go back, that the deal is consummated and you have to return it. And the shaila is going to be in the Gemara tomorrow's daf. Is it mean that there's no din of ayna and the deal's off in every scenario, or there's no din of ayna and the deal is on in every scenario? Okay, so that's if it's yoisim ishtos, less than a shtos vad is mechila. So eludram shein lem ayna avadim, purchasing an eved. Pushing a shtar chayv. A guy's trying to collect using a chayv. He's having trouble. You buy it, let's say 80 cents on the dollar, right? And he overcharges you or undercharges you, whatever it is. You pay too much or too little, right? There's no din of ayna on that. Akarkois, if you purchase karka, there's no din of ayna. Hekdeshis, if you buy an animal Rashi says it's speaking about an animal that has a mum. If you look at Rashi, Gizbar Amoicha Hegdish, he's selling either Bet Gabayas or Amoicha Ilos like Shinafel by Mum. He's selling Psuli Amikdashim. Right? In that case, there's no Aina. There's no Aina by Hegdish. Aim Lehem Tashlume Kefil. If you steal an Eved, a Star, a Karka, Hegdish, there's no din of Kefil. And Veloy Tashlumi Abba Chamisha. Obviously, Tashlumi Chamisha can only be by an animal of Hegdish, right? It's not shaykh to pay for shechting and selling an animal. If it's an Eved, it's not shaykh to Alav by an Eved or by a Star or by a Karka. It's only shaykh by what? It's only shaykh by Hegdish of the animal. It's only shaykh by Hegdish of the animal. So the Gemara is going to say why there's no din of Dalet Beheg. Shemechinam Eina Nishba. These are Yisayistic Mishnah guys. This shows up in Shas all the time. And it's the same limud as we'll see tomorrow. Shemechinam Eina Nishba. Shemechina does not swear. Doesn't swear the Shalech Yad. But Peshia was a Machloikis, it's a Machloikis Rambam and Ravid. Peshia, if you're Chayiv in Peshia or not. If you're Peshia, the Rambam says you're Chayiv al Smazik. The Rambam has a very fascinating thing. We take you out of the parsha of Shomer. You're not in the parsha of all. But if you're Peshia in watching it and you don't watch it, you're not Chayiv al Shomer Chinam. You're Chayiv al Smazik or the Mamazik. You did damage. That's the Rambam. And other people disagree with him. Shemesacha Eina Mishalim. Shemesacha does not pay on Gneva Vaveda. Reb Shimon Shita is on the base. Kachem Shuchai Bechru Yuson. If you magdash it by saying Hare Olai, it's upon me to be kachim. It's upon me to be kachim. Then Yesh Lehem Aina. There would be Aina. There would be Aina on that, right? If something happens. Rashi Hare Olai Oila veFrisha veHumima and Umachra. Then Yesh Lehem Aina. If he undercharges or overcharges. The Kivin Rashi says then Mesoy Nignava Chai Bechru Yusoy. Since if anything happens to the animal, he's going to bring another one. Didehi. It's considered his. It's not considered Hegdish. And Valtoinai Ishas Achiv Karina Bay. They'll call it Altoinai. Then the reason for Hegdish that doesn't work, fellas, just to prelim you. Simchu Mimcha Lamisecha, you'll sell something to your friend, or you acquire something from your friend. Altonu Ish Es Achiv, do not go ahead and overcharge your brother. So the limigais is from your brother, and Behegdish is not your brother. If you're going to have to go ahead and if you sell this after it gets a mum, you're going to have to make it up. Then le'inyan oino, it's considered yours. It's not considered this. You have to make it up, so it's not totally in the rishus of Hegdish, right? Because you're going to have to make it up. That's enough to be considered achiv for the parsha of Altoinoi to apply. That's what Rashi just told us. Okay. Kachem she'en chai bachru yusson. You said harizu, only this particular animal, but not it's on you achiv. Then you'd be then ein lehem einah. So he qualifies Hegdish. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer afa moicha sefer Torah behema umarglis. Anyone who buys a sefer Torah, behema or an animal umarglis or pearls ein lehem einah. Amulai le amru ela es elu. Only what avodim shtaros defahena. And we did not say in Hegdish. We did not say those cases. Again, the Gemara will explain Shitas Rebbe Huda, as you see Rashi says Mefarish time of the Gemara of Brisa. You see it. Okay, so let's get to the base then. Where's the source for this? You're telling me there's no oina in these cases. Avodim shtaros karka v'hegdish. What's the source for it? Okay, so we bring the pasuk that we just said. If you go ahead, man, and you sell something to your friend, or you acquire something from your friend, right? It says it's mashma something you're acquiring hand to hand. That's something that's mobile. That's something that okay. Yatsu karkois she'ena metaltalin. This would go and exclude from altoinoi. It's something it's not metaltal. It doesn't move. Yatsu avodim shehukush lekarkois. If this sounds familiar, we did it in Baba Kama multiple times. Yatsu avodim shehukush lekarkois. It says nisnachalta some acharechem. You're going to bequeath it to your brothers after you, to your children. If you have an eved, it gets passed down the line. It stays in the family, kind of like the parrot. They have these parrots that live 80 years. That seems to be like passed down. Parrots, they stay there. Yeah. It's a if you've had a parrot, you would know that, but I'm just full of information this evening. This would exclude stars. So now, so you sell something. Now, sell something means it itself has value. You're selling what? Something it itself has value. The gufay kana, and you acquire itself. If you acquire a shtar, what are you acquiring? A raya. You're not acquiring anything. You're acquiring a raya, a right. Yatsu shtarish she'en gufay machar. You're not selling anything. Ve'en gufay kana. Right? What are you acquiring? Ve'en oim dem elu l'raya shebehem. If a person goes ahead and sells a shtar for the purpose of sticking in a perfume jar, yesh lahem ayna. There would be a din of ayna. There would be a din of ayna because the shtar it's a piece of metal in the shtar. If you're selling the shtar not for the content of the shtar, but simply to go ahead and stop a bottle, it's no difference than selling a cork, right? Selling a cork or anything else to stop a bottle. It says on pshita. What's the chiddush of that? Obviously, if you're selling a shtar as a cork, it should be a din vayna. You're not selling the shtar for its collectability. It says this is a post to the shita of kahana. Damar eina no leprutais. We've had this before that the minimal amount of kana begins with an iser, right? The minimal amount of aynar begins with an iser, and in order to have prutas, you need at least 4 prutas, but for which is an isa. So ain't another prutas. Kamash malon, yesh another prutas. There's the kamash malon that if you can sell a shtar as a bottle stopper, mistama, you didn't spend an iser on it. Mistama, you spend a pruta on it. So kamash malon, this halacha of Rav Kahana, that not Rav Kahana, this din of this din of selling it as a bottle stopper, that even though it's only a pruta, there would be a din of ayna. So therefore, what do we have in the Mishnah so far? So let's begin with karka, because again, something that's handed over yad liyad. A karka is not liyad liyad. An eved is hukish lekarka. A shtar itself is not gufay mamin. And so we don't know hegdish. The only one we don't know now is hegdish. But we don't know there's no ayna in those 3. How do we not know hegdish? Says the Gemara. Hegdishis amakra al tona ish es achiv. Achiv v'lei hegdish. That's what I just told you before. In our Mishnah, the shita of Shimon, it still will be considered achiv because you have to make it up. Okay, maskevla Rabbi bar mama. Very interesting kasha. This whole sugya is predicated upon that dava that's nite miyad liyad, from one hand to the other. So you're learning hand literally. You're telling me when it said the Torah, anytime you use the word yad, it means literally. So you're acquiring something from the hand of. Karka never goes from the hand. Only something that's metaltal goes to the hand. So you're telling me yad is literal. Now we're going to question that. Lav yodai elameata. The pasuk says, Ki Cheshbon ir Sichain, Melech HaMoiri. Cheshbon was the city of Sichain, the king of Amoiri, who nilcham b'melech Moav HaRishon, vayikach es kol artzai miyadai ad Arnoin. He took all of his land, miyadai, from his hand, ad Arnoin. It's speaking about land, and what word is it using? Yadai. It's using the word yad. So you see, yad does not mean mamish yad. Yad means rishus. It means jurisdiction. Correct. So we're analyzing that dava nikna miyad liyad. How can you tell me yad is mamish? I could say he took it from his rishus, and then there would be ayna in karka, and then there would be ayna in avodim. Right. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, it says vayikas kol artza miyadai. You can tell me he took it from his hand. Ella, what do you have to say? Mershusa, he took it from his Mershus. So Hachanami by what? By by oina. Let's say what koina miyad means what and mirshusay. Okay, that's good. That's the kasha. Now the Gemara is going to go through various times the Torah uses the lashon of yad. All of them that we've seen recently, either in Masechta Gittin or or other places, which I don't recall right off the top of my head. Excuse me, Baba Kama. Yadai lo yadai mamishu v'atanya imimatzei timatzei biyadai. You find it in his hands. What does the pasuk say? By Geneva, imimatzei timatzei biyadai haganif mishor ad chamor ashsech chayim shnayim mishalim. You're going to pay what? Double. Now you're finding what in his hands. Obviously, that what's it's in his hands. Ein li yadai. Good. That means only his hand. Only if you find it in his hand would be a chi of kefil. Gagai, if you find it in his roof. Chatseroi, in his chatzer. The karfifoi, his backyard. Inayin, how do you know you be chayiv kefil? Tamalaymer, imi timatzei, imi matzei timatzei mikomokai. Now, so what do you see? You needed a limud to tell me that it doesn't literally mean the yad. Taima, the reason why he's chayiv kefil, because it's in his rishus, the kasa rachmana, imi matzei timatzei, because it says the double lashon of imatzei timatzei. Halav hachi, without the limud of the double lashon of imatzei timatzei, havamina, I would have thought, kol heiche the kasa yada yada mamishu. You have a great raya, guys. We're saying le'inyan kefel. We have to bring a pasuk to tell me it's not only his yad, it's his rishus. Without the pasuk, yad would mean literally yad. So I'm questioning your question from Sichon. You said yadoi means here it has to mean can mean yadoi mamish. 1 second, I'm showing you by ganef yadoi does mean yadoi mamish because you needed a limud to tell me other places as well. Because without the limud, you'd say only in his hand would you be chayiv kefil. Besu, another raya that yadoi means yadoi mamish, and this is by when you divorce a woman, right? What does the woman say? We know what it says. The chassalah say for krisis v'nasam biyada, right? You're going to write her a get, and you're going to give v'nasam biyada. You're going to give it in her hand. Ainli ela yada. I would say she's divorced. Only you give it in her hands. Gaga chatseira v'karfifa. Her roof, if you put the get on a roof. Chatseira or in a chatzer. V'karfifa or her backyard. Minayin. Of course, this is where she's watching it. Mishtameres, good. It says v'nasan. You don't have to say it. Time with the kasa rachmana v'nasan. Halav hachi havamina kolechi the kasa yada yada mamish. Only she be divorced if you give it. So Ella, what do you have to say? Kol yada yada mamish. Or einachinami. Anytime it says yad, it means mamish. By get, it means mamish, and therefore I need a lima to extend it beyond his hand. By kefel, it means mamish. Therefore I need a lima to extend. By Aino, it means what? Yodoi mamish, and therefore kark is out of the ballpark. You got a question from what? From Sichon, right? The shiny hasna by Sichon. The lekelamei hachi. There's no other way to explain it. In other words, you look at context. There's no way to explain the pasuk that you can't possibly take land. So therefore, in context there, it must mean rishus. But in achinami, normally, what does it mean? It means what? It means mamish. But over there, obviously, it doesn't mean it because it means you took it from his jurisdiction. Okay, a few shilas, and we'll conclude. Boy Reb Zera, schiris yesh lo'ina ein lo'ina. You get overcharged for renting. Mimka amar achmona avalei schiris. He simcha mimka dafka machira. There's a din of aina, but not schiris. Aidil maleshna. So Amalei, Abaya, Miksiv, Mimker La'olam. Does it say a sale forever? Mimker stomach siv. It says Mimker stam. Hainami biyuma mechira. This is a sale. A schiris is considered a sale for a day. It's wherever the time of the lease is. That's the lease, whatever that is. During that jurisdiction, it's considered what? Mechira memela this din of ina. Taisa says this is unique to here. That mechira taka schiris is taka not yours. But in this, since you have a special limud, it is yours. The second place is on the page. Okay, now, very interesting shaila. We see that the din of karka is not in the ballpark by a few places. We know it's not in the ballpark by Aina. We know it's not in the ballpark of shvua, einish bayin al karkois. Good. We want to know if you take something and put it in the ground, do we view it as a separate entity and there's a din of Aina, or do we view it as bottled to the ground? Do we view it as a separate entity and there's a din of shvua moedim and mixes, or do we view it as part of the ground and ain't shvua? So it's an interesting shaila. How do you view putting seeds in the ground? Do you view them as part of the ground and then they'll be shaykh to the tour of Aina and moedim and mixes, or do we view them as a separate entity from the ground and not? It's a very interesting shaila. Gemara's going to end up with teku. Anyway, here's the shaila. Boy Rava, chitin, you have wheat, there's zarim b'karka. Now, you have wheat, there certainly is a din of Aina by wheat. If you overcharge or undercharge, there's no question, right? It's a dav metalto. It's a very common case where people buy wheat. It's a basic food, right? Except for those who are not gluten-free. In those days, I'm sure they were not gluten-free. And they went ahead and ate. But what happened was, then you put it in the ground, and it didn't take root yet. Mahu, what's the din? Yesh lehem Aina, because it's considered what, not part of the ground, or ein lehem Aina, or it's considered part of the ground. Now, come on. The shadya bikada, do we view it like, here's the shaila, guys. Or ein lehem Aina. Come on, the shadya bikada, we view it as if you put it in a jar. Damya, v'yesh lehem Aina. Dilma batlinu al gabe ara. But since it's in the ground, we battle in the ground, and there's no din of Aina. So it didn't take root yet. If it took root, it's certainly part of the ground. Good. It didn't take root yet. So the fact that it's being stored at this point in time in the ground, do we view it the same as if I store it in a jar, and therefore there would be a din of Aina, or do we view it since it's in the ground, it's bottled to the ground, and we know there's no din of Aina by a ground. That's the Gemara shaila. You guys are good. Hey Chidanu, what exactly is the case? Ilema the ama ihu shadai bashisa v'asusada v'amei delay shada ba'elachamisha. He said that you planted 6. Aiden kind of said you only planted 5. In other words, it's a davashebe mida v'amarava called davashebe mida u'shebe mishkol u'shebe minyan. Anything that is weighed or measured or counted, I feel the pachas b'tei ina chayzer. But right, he said by ina that if that's this amount, even pachas may it's going to go back. Ella, it must be the amar ihu shadi by kiddi. Check out what the ground needs and put it in. And he went ahead and they found out, right? You know, he was based on an oimid. When you have a price, then there's no oina. When you have over here an evaluation, an estimation, this guy estimated this, and it turned out to be this. So that's where oina could apply. So now, yesh lem oina, because it's considered in a jar. Ein lem oina. Okay, that's the first shaila. The Gemara does not answer the shaila. The Gemara now adds on another shaila, and we know ein nishbayin al karkois. There's no din of what nishbayin al karkois. So nishbayin alayim ein nishbayin. What did I do? Nishbayin alayim. Would you swear on the seeds in the ground? This guy's claiming 6. You said you planted 5, you know? Is it like a separate entity? Okay. So 2 shilas, one by Aina, and the exact same shaila by Shua Moed B'Mikzas Ein Nishbayin al Karkois. Now, in Yonah the Omer for Rabbi Avi, the Omer, which was bought yesterday, matted the chadash, the winter crop, the winter barley. The barley grew over the winter, and you bought the omer from barley. It matted the winter crop, whatever it was. It not only matted barley, it matted everything. Just barley gets ripe earlier, and so it's omer is mata, the crop in the Medina. No longer is considered chadash. Now it's called yashan. and the shtei lechem on Shavuos, that matters the chodesh in the Beis Hamikdash. So in other words, from Pesach to Shavuos, you're unable to use the yashon as a result of the omer in the Beis Hamikdash for the carbon menachos until Shavuos comes. Okay, that's a side idea. Now, what about the following shaila? If it was disconnected, the omer certainly would be materit. You went ahead, you harvested your winter wheat, it's winter crop, let's say whatever it is. It is chadash. The omer is brought, it matters it. You now put it in the ground, right? Is it considered out of the ground and it's mutter, or is it considered part of the ground and you're gonna have to wait till next year to be matter? So again, the same idea in a third venue of halacha. Aina, moedim miktsas, and is it considered chadash or yashan? How do you view it? Do you view it as yashan afterwards, or do we view it as part of next year's crop? Hechidami, ida ashush. If it's took root, tanina, you learned it. That what? As we're going to see that it's part of next year's crop. Idalay ashush tanina. And if it didn't take root, you also learned that. Ditnan. If what you planted took root before the omer, omer matirin, the omer matters it. V'im lav asura machiyava omer above for the next year. So what's the shiloh over here? You know, what's your shiloh over here? Okay, what's the shiloh over here? If what you planted took root or not, says the Gemara, I'll tell you what the shiloh is. It's not speaking about, it's speaking about something that had been mated already. The chatzdinu bizarinu koidim la'omer. You went ahead, you took the crop that was what? That you took the crop that was yasha. It was right now, it was outside. And if it would have gone ahead and you would have brought the omer, it would be mutter. It would be mutter. So you cut the wheat from the new crop, and you have to wait for the omer to matter it. And then you planted it before the omer. You planted it before the omer. So it's not speaking the Gemara's case there in Menachos, where we took root before or afterwards. For us, omer came along the omer. It didn't take root. It didn't take root at all. So here's the question, fellas. If this was out, this crop that you had cut, if it was not in the ground, everyone would say, hey, go enjoy it. It's mutalach, mutalach, mutalach. It's yashan. But the time you bought the omer, it was in the ground. It didn't take root, but it was in the ground. If you view it as in a jar, then it's mutter. If you take it out of the ground now and it's viewed as the ground, it would be asa. That's the shaila. The same shaila by moedim miktsas and the same shaila by what? By oina. That's our shaila over here. Amid Aleph, Mahu. Leminka, what's the din of taking it? We're eating from it. Kiman deshadya b'kadadami. Do a view at what is if you put it in a jar. B'sharino oimer, and the oimer mated it. Dilmo batlinu agavara, or maybe it's bottled to the ground, and therefore it's considered you have to wait till next year. All these shilas, the Gemara says what? Teku. This would be a great place to stop. Let's say a kapitel to Helen.